exciting is it for us to have this type of heavyweight prize fight for the sport of boxing?
You know what? I'm super excited about it because you have the two best heavyweights, right? Both undefeated, willing to face each other. Here in Las Vegas, you got ESPN, Bob Arum, who promoted fights with my father back in the day.
Right.
You know, and this is what boxing needs right now.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's so exciting. You don't know exactly what's going to happen because you have two fighters with big personalities, both come to the ring with two different sets of skills, so it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
No question.
Laila, you mentioned your father. Muhammad Ali was the most fluid heavyweight of all time and had the biggest charisma and was the biggest star in the history of sports, really. Tyson Fury has been compared to his fluidity because since him, Larry Holmes could box some others, but they weren't as fluid as Tyson. Did Muhammad Ali, did your father ever talk to you about his ability to avoid punches, about what that internal radar was like, and does Tyson Fury's remind you of his?
I don't remember having those particular specific conversations, but I mean, he knew his skill level, you know, and he felt like there was never going to be anybody as great as him, you know, but I can definitely see what you're talking about with Tyson Fury. That's what I like about him, that he uses his size well. He, you know, he moves around the ring, it goes both ways, he's feinting you, you know, he's throwing different combinations. He's not trying to throw them all hard, which reminds me of my father, you know, just kind of really trying to take control of the fight. So that's what I like about him as a fighter, and I think my father would have liked this matchup.
When you watch the sport of boxing, particularly the heavyweight division at this moment in time, you talked about how good this is for the sport because you're getting the two undefeated fighters squaring off against one another in the prime of their careers. As you have reflected watching the heavyweight division, knowing what you know of it because obviously you watched your dad, what have been your thoughts about the heavyweight division in boxing over the years?
You know, we have seen that there wasn't as much excitement. The viewership kind of went down. I mean, you got the MMA and the UFC and all this going on that people were liking because in fighting, people get tired of not being able to see the best fight each other. And, you know, the heavyweight division just was not it for a while. So I think this is really bringing it back. And that's why, like I said, I can see what the excitement is. And, you know, let's get it. Let's get it done.
And also in terms of...
Yeah, I was just going to say, Laila, I was watching. You went on tour with Oprah, her Vision tour, with this absolutely incredible. And you talked about a story which I found was so interesting because your father wasn't thrilled about you fighting.
Not at all.
And then when he came around and said you were right, tell us about that.
Well, I remember my father learning that I was going to become a boxer, and I had already been training, already made the decision. He tried to talk me out of it. You know, he said, at the end of the conversation, it was basically, this is not for you, it's not for women, and it's a man's sport, it's too hard, I don't want you to do it. And I said, well, I'm going to do it anyway. Now, I know now, in hindsight, I have a daughter, children. I know he was afraid, he didn't want me to get hurt. But I remember when I won my titles, he'd been to a handful of fights, you know, and he said, I was wrong. You can fight, and women can fight. And that was not only a big win for me, it was a big win for women.
No question.
To change Muhammad Ali's mind about women and how he saw us and what we were able to do and not do. And that's why I support even now. I still love boxing. It will always be my first love. And I love to support other females because I know what they're going through when you're putting everything on the line, and there's so many more women coming into the sport now, which is great.
And I just thought that was an important story to tell
Muhammad
here.
Ali, one of the many great things about Muhammad Ali, who I idolized growing up, was his ability to change his mind over time and grow, including with respect to that issue. I think one of the reasons boxing was in decline in the heavyweight division is the NFL sucked all the talent out of big, tough guys going into boxing because there's so many high-paying jobs in the NFL. So the Eastern Europeans took over. Klitschko is a hard name to pronounce. It's a foreign language they're speaking. It's overseas. It's not promoted here. These two guys are big personalities, right? One from here, one from the UK. So the English is accessible to people here in the States, and they have charisma, right? Did you ever talk to your father? You also had charisma. You were good at selling your fights, and your dad was the best of all time. Did he ever talk to you about the promotional side of boxing?
My father did not love any aspect of it as far as I was concerned, but what he did tell me that he was proud of the way that I carried myself inside of the ring, outside of the ring. He understood the business of boxing, he understood about timing about certain fights, and he's happy that, you know, I carried on his legacy in a way that, you know, made him proud. So that was all, but it wasn't like, you need to do this, you need to do that, because it was a different time. You know, women's boxing wasn't even at the level that it's at now. So many people
No, there
love.
weren't a lot of female fighters
It's
back
like
then.
even the UFC I started covering, I think in 2006,
Yeah.
women weren't allowed to fight.
But there always have been more women than people thought. You know, you had, you know, Layla McCarter, who's still fighting now, Chevelle Hallback, you know, you had, you know, Kim Messer, and all these different people that I watched, and a lot of times people thought I was the first, and I was like, I'm not the first. And there was a lot of talented women. It's just that now with women's boxing in the Olympics, women are more inspired, like, oh, I can go fight for my country, you know, and it's going to keep growing from
Well,
there.
you are the one with the most acclaim. You are the most popular name. And by the way, you were undefeated and a champion and a knockout artist.
Ali is a hard name to beat.
You brought it up.
Come on.
You brought it up. I know that you're a happily married woman with children, but are we talking about
nice
coming out
ring.
of retirement? Are we talking about coming out of retirement? How about, what are your plans, Laila Ali?
Well, I will tell you this. As I said, I love boxing. I always have. Boxing has inspired my Laila Ali lifestyle brand. You know, I've been outside of the boxing gym, but I've been in the gym ever since I left. I got nutrition products. I got spice blends. I'm all about health and wellness. I'm very healthy.
Yes.
And have I been sitting around thinking about boxing? No. But lately, there's been a little chatter. And at the
You're
end of
referring
the
to Claressa Shields?
Yes, I'm
Two-time Olympic
Yes.
gold medalist, undefeated?
Yes, which is amazing. And I love that because we want to see women continue to grow and inspire other people, right? And she's been calling me out. She's taken offense to some things that I've said in the past that had nothing to do with her. And, you know, people are asking me, would you come back? Well, I have to be inspired by the opponent. I have to be inspired by the purse because I have multiple things going on, multiple streams of income. I don't need to do it. I have to want to do it.
Is she an inspiring opponent?
Is she? Of course, absolutely.
So now
Especially
it's a matter
that
of,
mouth.
So now it's a matter
Especially
of
that mouth.
if that
Because
mouth
when it's
raises
personal,
the purse high enough.
When it's personal, that starts a fire, right? And when the money's right and it makes sense, then why not?
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.